before it's even light out. You get briefed and you get your breakfast and you draw out your equipment. And that's another thing, when you draw out your equipment, these details stick with me. For some reason they're so meaningful, and you'll see why. You're sort of like in a half awake, and you get your flight jacket and your flak helmet, and of course you get a parachute harness, and you draw all this boots and all that good stuff. You draw this out just before you take off. The whole crew has to do this. And you start fitting this harness on the tarmac. And your buddies help you, because it's got to fit pretty good. These guys bail out, they slipped out of their harnesses. That's deadly. So we took care of getting our harnesses on properly, and it was a thing you did with your crew. They helped each other out. And of course, the harness is designed to take up most of the pressure from your whole body and slow you down. But there's only two areas that most of this pressure is felt, and you had to make sure they were adjusted properly. Now, we've thrown out our equipment, had our breakfast, looked at the bomb. We knew what the mission was. We knew it was going to be a good 8-hour day. We're going to have a full day, because that's about how long it took to do this mission round trip. And we checked out the airplane. The pilot went around. He was supposed to check it out, and they call it a walk around. He didn't know what he was looking for. He had to walk to the crew chief. His crew chief knew what he was looking for. And you more or less check the outside of the airplane, and you finally get inside, strap yourself in. But on the way in, you're passing what they call your payload. Your payload is your bomb bay full of these huge bombs. They're looking at you. It's a propeller over. And it's intimidating, but we get ourselves strapped in, and it takes us a while to take off and form it. And, even takeoff was a thrill. I mean, here you've got a full tank of gas. You got a full bomb load, and you got a runway that looks like it's only from here to the wall. So what you do is you put your face in the airplane, you fire all your throttles, stand on the brakes, and say, there you go, let it go. You rumble down. You think forever it's never going to get enough speed up to take off. And then finally it does gather enough speed. You got just enough runway to get off. And it's this way for everybody, not only me. The whole bomb group has to go through this. And unfortunately, there have been times when power was lost, a few strokes of the piston failed, and that's all you needed. And they went off the end of the runway into the woods. Bomb load and all. And I can't tell you what happened. This is the things you did. Day in and day out, these guys did this stuff. I only did it for 7.5 missions, but we'll get to that. So as I say, the 22nd was also a mission to Austria, which was close by the 23rd mission. We went to Austria, I think, to bomb some oil reserves near Vienna. And they didn't like this because they jumped us on the way out of there very badly. But fortunately, I got through that one. However, the next day, they were more than ready for us. And as the citation says, I didn't know this, but they were coming up at us outside of Vienna, right over the Austrian Alps. They were coming at us with 6 to 10 airplanes abreast with 20mm cannons. And unfortunately, they caught my aircraft. And at the time of impact, I felt it. A couple of thumps. That's all it felt like. I thought, well, that's good. We can get through this one. And then little by little things started happening. That's supposed to happen. There's no controls. My rudders are gone. Ailerons are gone. Everything. Only thing I had left to steer that airplane with was the throttles. And I'm drifting around in formation, so I'd ease back on the throttle, so I'd fall out of formation, and that bumped some friend of mine. And I still thought I had a chance, until I got a tap on the shoulder, and was instructed to look over my shoulder into the Bombay. It was a raging fire in that Bombay. What had happened is the 20 millimeters pierced those gas tanks above the Bombay and got that fire started, and that gasoline was pouring down into the Bombay. And I think at this moment is when we lost the 4 crewmen in the rear. That fire must have caught them unaware, and they didn't have a chance in hell to jump out. Never heard anything of what happened to them, never found any remains, never heard any reports of what happened to those 4 men. Everybody forward of the Bombay made out okay, we got out one way or the other. And getting out of a B-24 from the pilot seat was no bargain either. The part that always amazes me is, all right, I put that harness on the tarmac. Remember we talked about that harness? That had to be adjusted right. And here it had a couple of hooks with clamps on it. And the parachute itself, which we did thousands of times, every time we went off the flight, you took your harness, your parachute, and you put it behind your seat. And you reached out and grabbed the handle of it. And the parachute, a little bigger than a loaf of bread, weighed about 7 pounds. But it was what saves your life. You snap that onto these rings. I don't remember doing any of this, by the way, but this is what you did. You snapped it on, and you worked your way down the steps and out the Bombay through the fire. That I can remember. I remember that part. My replacement co-pilot, I had a replacement co-pilot this trip because Frank got my regular co-pilot had a malaria attack. They gave me a replacement co-pilot. And for some reason he was hesitating. I don't know why. I mean, that fire was scaring the hell out of me. I knew we had to get out. Nobody was at the control anymore because I was behind him. So I found him gently. Gave a push between his shoulder blades and out he went. And I followed. That was great. Because once you're out of that chaos and your plane disappears, the parachute opens up, your boots snap off, you lose them right away. It gets quiet. You can't believe how quiet it sounds. All you can hear in the distance is the engines from the other aircraft. And of course, you look down, and that's a little disconcerting because, as I mentioned before, this was over the Austrian Alps. Those soldiers rocks, and that's where you were going to land. And they were pretty high because this is August, and there was still snow on these mountains. That's how high they were. So we didn't have much time before we made contact with the ground. Fortunately, out of all the guys that were bailed, there was a quite a few in the sky coming down with me. Several other planes were hit too at the same time. I landed on the only grassy spot on the mountainside. A lot of guys got hurt bad, falling into the rocks, breaking legs, big scabs, big chunks of meat taken out. And then, of course, there was some wounded that bailed out also that were hurt pretty bad. So when we were captured, we were on top of this mountain. We didn't know how to get down. So the people that captured us started to lead us down the mountain. And we had to carry it. There was about 7 or 8 of us. About 4 of us were ambulatory. And we could carry these guys down. And we carried them down. Well, we figured out the snow was still up there, at least